Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, or even good evening. I'm not too sure when you're going to be watching this. This is the first video out of 4 of the workshop crafts when you're working with your mentors. However, this is the second video total of the FemEng Virtual Outreach. The first video was an introductory video, and if you haven't yet watched that, I recommend that you do before watching this video, just so that you get a better understanding of what the next 5 weeks will include. You're probably wondering who I am. So my name's Tony. You've already met me in the introductory video that you should have watched by now. I'm a second year aeronautical engineering student and the outreach convener of FemEng. As you've probably seen from the title of this video, this week is all about aeronautical engineering, and there is so much to know about aeronautical engineers or aerospace engineers, and there are a variety of different areas that these engineers can focus in. So it could be designing, testing or building the engines of aircrafts, or focusing on the fuel tank, the wings of aeroplanes, aircrafts, but they can also focus on the space sector. And so that could be designing shuttles or satellites. So there's a huge variety that aeronautical engineers or aerospace engineers can focus in. There are a couple of subjects in school that are helpful. So that would be your mathematics, sciences, that could be physics and chemistry, but this isn't the only number of subjects that you can choose. As long as you have a real kind of passion and curiosity about what things do and why a certain thing does a certain thing, people like yourselves are just curious and want to make things better for everyone else around them. And that's really what engineers do. We're here to help everyone around us and make everyone's lives around us better. So as you can all see on the slide in front of you, here are the certain materials that we will need for this workshop that we're going to do. So we're going to be creating paper aeroplanes that are slightly different, using different folding techniques, as you can see here, and different kind of styles of the wings, and learn a wee bit more about what they do or how they can fly using a wee bit of engineering knowledge. So we need tape, paper, so it can be plain paper or it could be coloured paper, some pens or pencils, scissors or a ruler, okay, because with scissors we need to be extra careful, so having adult supervision would be ideal and very important. But if not, then what we can do is we can use the ruler to cut the paper, and I'll show you how to do that in the next section of the workshop video. And we also need your imagination and your creativity. So if you have any questions for myself or the other mentors that you will meet in the next coming weeks, then write them down on a piece of paper, and you could ask your mum, dad, carers or guardians who are at home with you to send FemEng a wee email using the email which is at the bottom left hand corner of your screen, which is femeng@gues.org.uk. And we will also be having a Zoom on the final Friday, which will be the mechanical workshop that you will probably be working on throughout that week. And then the Friday at the end of that week, you'll be able to meet all of the mentors again in a Zoom call. Now, this is completely optional and it isn't compulsory. You don't have to come, but it would be great to meet all of you and for you to ask us any other questions that you have with regards to your projects and workshops that you've been doing with your other mentors. Okay, so pause this video just now and go and get all of your materials and equipment, and then you can come back to the video and work alongside me with creating our paper aeroplanes using some folding techniques, okay? Okay, so glad that you're back and you've got all of your equipment that we need for this workshop. You will be seeing me in a slightly different format in a minute because you'll be able to see me folding the paper and drawing the lines and things soon. So just hold on and you'll see me again in a bit. Hi everyone, welcome back. As you all saw in the previous video, that was just a highlight of all the materials we will need for this craft. In the slide before the video, I spoke about straws and a plastic bag. The reason for these are the plastic bag is so that we can tidy all of our scrap paper away to either recycle or for it to be clean, because we like to be clean engineers while we're working. And the straws are so that we can add different methods and different ways of using the straws and the paper to create the body of the glider. So that will be maybe a next step that you can work out maybe at home to see whether there's any differences using the paper as a body or the straws, and we can discuss this all at the Zoom on Friday. So everyone, this is what we're going to be making, a paper glider, but it's a wee bit different to your ordinary paper planes that you would do. As you can see, we have the horizontal stabilizers at the back and our wing at the front. And we have our body, but that's using a fan technique here that we'll get into later in the craft section. And throughout the craft, I'll be explaining a wee bit more about aeronautical engineering and the things that aeronautical engineers have to think about when they're creating gliders or planes, but we'll get into that now when we're starting the craft. Okay everyone, so we're going to get started with the craft. First off, we're going to start with the main body of the glider. So we're using a kind of fan technique just to make it a wee bit different, but it also gives us a little bit more weight with the glider. So first of all, we are going to start with any colour piece of paper or any paper you have at home. I'm going to use red first of all. So I'll set my blue pieces of paper over at the side so that we don't get too crowded, and we're going to start off with measuring. So we're going to use our ruler here. Doesn't matter if you have a short ruler or a longer ruler, but it's very important that we get our lines accurate. That's also very important within engineering as well. So first of all, we're going to start at the corner and we're going to mark 12, okay, and draw our line here. Now I'm going to use a black pen so that it's a wee bit easier for all of you to see, but using a pencil at home is absolutely fine. Okay, so 12 has marked along. Now what we're going to do is we're coming out by 3. Okay, so again, marking our point here. So I'm going to draw my line over 3 and our 12. Okay, and again, I'm just going to highlight that with my black pen. So again, staying as straight as I can, 1 and 2. Now, what's also very helpful with starting at the corner is we don't have to measure these lines. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you the technique of cutting the paper using a ruler. Okay, and this saves using our scissors, because if we don't have an adult at home who is supervising us, then using a ruler is perfectly okay. However, if you are comfortable using scissors at home and you have an adult at home supervising you, then by all means you can use your scissors. So we're going to start placing our ruler on the edge of the paper, and we're just going to pull down the other side of the paper like so until we reach that point. Again, we're going to move our paper over. Now I think it's easier if we press down as hard as we can with the ruler and pull towards us, okay, like so. And we have our first rectangle, okay. Now, with this, what we're going to do is we're going to start our folding technique so that it looks similar to a fan, okay. So we're going to start one end, pressing down and folding, and then we're flipping it over the other end, pressing down as hard as we can to get as straight a line as possible. Now this can be quite footery, so we just need to be extra patient. And again, and one final time like so. Okay, now here is where our tape and blue tack come into the situation. So we're going to take a small piece of tape. I'm using masking tape, but it doesn't matter what tape that you do. And we're going to take a tiny wee piece off, okay, and stick down the corner like so, similar to our big fan here, okay. So placing both sides of our tape down. Okay, so again, we have a smaller mini fan to our big fan that I made earlier. Okay, and again, another side, we're taking the smallest bit of tape that we can and placing it down like so and wrapping it round. Now it's really important we use as little tape as possible so that the body isn't too heavy. Now this is very important when it comes to engineering. We don't want the bodies of the aircraft, or actually anything in an aircraft, to be too heavy, because then that means that we have to invest more money in the fuel that has to go into the aeroplane to power the engines to lift the aircraft up off the ground. Because if you can imagine, sometimes I feel like if you have a couple of biscuits more, it takes a wee bit harder for you to get up off of the chair or jump up in the air. So it's a bit like that with aircrafts as well. We don't want to put too much weight into our aircrafts so that in the long run we invest less money into the fuel and make the aircraft a lot lighter. And so that also means that our lucky passengers, yourselves included, if you go on holiday, it means that we can have either more people on the plane and people can carry more luggage, which is always a bonus. So, moving on from our body that we've created, we're going to create this wing. Okay, now it's similar using the folding technique as we can see here. Okay, like so, if I stretch that out. But what we're going to do is use a different coloured piece of paper. So I'm going to move on to my blue piece of paper and have my body over at the side. So what we're going to do is, again, starting at the corner, we're going to measure out. So this needs to be a wee bit thicker, okay, so that we have more area on the wing, which also helps with lift because it means that more air can flow over it. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to measure, let's say we're going to go along 10 first of all, so a wee bit smaller than our body, but this time we are going to measure down 2 centimeters, okay, like so. 2 centimeters, and we have 10 across. Okay, there we go. So moving our ruler away, what we're now going to do is, using our longer ruler technique, we're going to rip down. So down, again pulling towards you, like so. Now, another wee trick is we're now going to fold this down towards us here, okay, like so. So we have our thicker fold. Now we're going to flip the paper over, and again using our ruler, we're going to rip down, okay, but we're going to rip down 2 again. So we're measuring our 2 centimeters down, like so, okay. But this time we don't need to measure the 10 across because we already have this 10 across. Okay, so we're going to again rip down the way, okay, and this time we're folding that same way down. Okay, folding down, flipping the paper over one more time and measuring our 2 centimeters. I'm going to stick to using a pencil because I think you might already have the idea. 2 down, as you can see here, ripping towards me, like so, and then our final fold, down, like so. So at this point now, we're going to cut our paper, okay, which is 10 across. Now we can either use the ruler and pull it towards us, or again, if you have an adult watching at home, you can use scissors. Moving our blue paper over to the side and our ruler so we have space. Now here, we're wanting to leave this section open. We're just taping along the middle, okay? So again, using any tape you want. I'm sticking with my masking tape because it's a wee bit easier to cut. And then we're taping along. Now, in the middle, like so. So we have our wing and we have our body. The last part that we're going to do is create our stabilizers at the back, so the tail of our glider. Now, it's also very important to note that this is a glider and not in fact an aeroplane, because it doesn't have any engines, okay? So unfortunately, we can't use this to go on holiday. I mean, it's made out of paper as well, but it won't be able to travel as far a distance as an aeroplane would because they have engines. So, moving on with our stabilizers, again, we can use a different colour piece of paper. So I'll move on to the pink, but what you can do is use the same coloured paper and then colour it in and do lots of different designs. So, and that would also be very cool. Again, as I said at the start of the video, that you can email Femenge any questions that you have using our email that's down below. But what you can also do is take pictures of your gliders that you've created and send them into Femenge as well, and we'll create a collage of all of your amazing work to share with everyone on our social media pages. So you can also do that as well, because we would love to see your different creative designs. Okay, back to our craft. We are creating our stabilizers. Now, as you can see here, I've got two, again using the folding technique, okay, but we have two smaller ones. So two smaller stabilizers compared to our larger one. What we're going to do is I'm going to take one of these off just now so that I can show you in a wee bit more detail that it is similar using the folding technique and taped in the middle. Now I've got blue tack and I'll get to that in a wee bit. I'm placing our stabilizer down just now just to measure, okay, and we're using our 5 centimeters. Now, I also want to note that you can play around with the measurements at home, okay, to see what flies better, okay, and again, down by 2 centimeters, okay. So you can play around with this at home to see what flies better, what gives you more lift and flies for longer, and that's also a wee chance for you to experiment a wee bit more and be a wee bit more creative as well, so that I'm not just saying the one and only thing, because that's the other thing with engineers. We'll take something and we'll change certain parts as well to make it better. Okay, so again, similar idea with the wing, taking our ruler and pulling our paper down, folding our paper towards us and folding down. Again, our ruler, and we're measuring our 2 centimeters down. Okay, and if you're comfortable and don't want to draw the line, that's absolutely fine. We're just pulling down to 2 centimeters, sorry, and then folding down again one more time. And finally, we're doing 3 folds, pulling down to our 2 centimeters, stopping and folding one last time. Again, flipping our paper over, okay, just so that we make sure that we've got our folds perfectly, or as perfect as they can be. And then we are ripping down our 2 meters first of all, like so, okay, and then along our 5 centimeters at the bottom, again, like so. So guys, if we pause the video just now, then I'll let you try to create the second stabilizer all by yourselves, okay? And I'll be back in a wee second with the completed other stabilizer. So hopefully you've managed to create now 2 of the horizontal stabilizers when you had paused the video. We're now going to get back to taping them like we did the main wing. Okay, so taking again the smallest piece of tape that you can. Okay, and again, doesn't matter what tape, and we're going to again place in the middle, okay, our tape at one side and fold it over just so it's nice and secure, but we're still having our kind of fold, okay, that's also very important. So again, one other wee bit of tape, and like so, we're folding down. So now we have all of our separate parts, okay, and we are now ready to build our glider. Okay, so taking our main body, Okay, you can decide which is your top end and which is the bottom end. It doesn't really matter because we should have measured them all to be the same size. But we're now going to take our main wing. Now this is the part where we need to be extra careful, and it's also very important to make our successful glider. So what we're going to do is we remembered that this wing is 10 centimetres long. So half of 10 is 5. So I'm going to take my pencil and mark a wee circle at the 5 mark. Okay, as you can all see there. And again, this is 2 centimetres. Okay, so half of 2 is 1. So as you can see, I'm a wee bit off. We're just gonna use our black pen so that everyone can see. Here we go. That is our point. So we know that is the middle of our wing, and we're taking again the smallest piece of blue tack, okay, and we're placing that on to the mark in the middle that we just made. Okay, now again, using the smallest piece of blue tack is also very important so that we reduce the weight, okay, of our glider. So again, carefully, we're placing, now the blue tack size should be roughly the same size as the body of the glider itself, as you can see here. And we're placing that with our tape edge on the top, okay? So in line with the top of our body of our glider. So as we can see, like so, it all matches up, and it's okay if we've got a wee bit of overlapping white tack or blue tack. We can tuck that in, or you can also get rid of it if that helps. Okay, so moving on to our stabilizers, we are doing the exact same thing. We know that our length of our stabilizer is 5 centimetres, and half of 5 centimetres is 2.5 centimetres again, so placing our spot there, and again we have it measured at 2 centimetres, and so half of 2 centimetres is our 1 centimetre, and again I'm going to use my black pen just so that we can get it bang on in the middle, taking an even smaller piece of our white tack or blue tack and placing it right on top like so. And again, we're going to line our blue tack up with the body, okay, and we're going to leave a wee bit of space, okay, maybe half of our tape, and placing it down just so we have a wee bit of wiggle room like so. So that's our first stabilizer on, and now I'm going to do the exact same thing with our last stabilizer. Okay, measuring along 5, and we know half of 5 is 2.5, like so, and our half of our 2 is 1, like so. Again, our piece of white tack goes right in the middle, pressing it down, and again lining it up with the body, lining it up with the other stabilizer and pressing it down like so. So that's us created our paper glider using some folding techniques. Okay, a wee bit different to your normal paper aeroplane. So we have now our gliders created, and hopefully with a little bit of luck and science, they will fly. So everyone, now that we have created our gliders and we have had the fun of trying to fly them, you can play around with the different measurements of the wings or the stabilizers and the weights as well. I quite like using blue tack to either put more weight at the front or maybe put more weight at the back, depending on how your glider flies. So you can play around with that. You can play around with the colours of the wings or the body. You could draw some art on it just to make it your own, but you can also maybe play around with different materials. So I have some straws here that I was speaking to you about at the start of the workshop video, and you can maybe try using the straws to be an alternative to the body. Here's one I made earlier, okay, using a paper straw, but you can see it looks fairly similar sizes. Does the same kind of job, but it's up to you. You explore your creativity and let us know using the FemEng email what worked and what didn't work. That's all part of being an engineer. Now, before I end this video, it's just a wee reminder that next week's video will be the biomedical engineering workshop, and you will get to meet Ruji and Natalia. What you will need for next week's video is some scissors, and again, being careful. You'll need some gummy sweets, so it could be jelly beans or wine gums and jelly babies, but they need to be 4 different colours ideally. Some toothpicks or cocktail sticks, paper and coloured pens or pencils. And there will also be a key that will be sent along with you next week so that you understand a wee bit more of what is in store. But I'm not going to ruin that surprise until next week, you'll find out. That's all from me today, and I'll see you again at the conclusion video. Hope you had fun and you can be a wee bit more creative and try and play around with different materials and create different gliders at home. Bye!